You react fast because silence makes you uncomfortable. You speak quickly because stillness feels like weakness. You don't know it yet, but every impulsive reaction has been training you to live outside of yourself. You've been taught that responding instantly means you're confident. But look closely. That urge to defend, to explain, to clap back, it's not confidence. It's fear wearing a loud voice. When someone says something that hits your ego, you don't pause, you don't breathe, you explode. Not because you're strong, but because you don't know how to hold your energy without releasing it. That's how most people live, like a door with no lock. Anyone can knock, anyone can enter, anyone can trigger you, and you'll react on command. That's not awareness. That's programming. You think reaction is movement, but reaction is just emotional obedience. You are obeying every feeling that rises in you, and as long as you obey, you cannot lead. This audiobook is not here to make you calm. It's here to make you untouchable. There's a difference. Calm people still feel the hits. Untouchable people absorb them but remain unmoved, not because they don't care, but because they choose their moments instead of bleeding in every one of them. You don't have to speak to prove you're in control. You don't have to react to prove you're alive. You don't have to explain yourself to be understood. Silence is not the absence of power. Silence is power under control. So listen closely. Don't rush this. Let each word settle, and by the end of this, you will no longer be a slave to your reactions. Chapter 1. You react fast because you're programmed to. You react fast because silence makes you uncomfortable. You answer quickly, not from power, but from panic. Stillness feels like weakness to you. You've been conditioned to believe that quick responses equal confidence, that instant reaction means control. But look closer. That urge to defend yourself, to explain yourself, to clap back immediately, it's not confidence. It's insecurity wearing a loud voice. When something hits your ego, you don't pause. You don't breathe. You jump. And in that jump, you lose your power. You explode, not because you're strong, but because you don't know how to hold your energy without spilling it. Most people live like an unlocked door, easy to push open, easy to disturb, easy to manipulate. Anyone can knock. Anyone can enter. Anyone can trigger you, and you'll react on command. That's not confidence. That's programming. You think reaction is movement, but reaction is just emotional obedience. You are obeying every feeling that rises inside you. And as long as you obey your impulses, you cannot lead yourself. You will always be controlled by whatever emotion shows up first. This journey is not about shutting down or becoming numb. It's about becoming untouchable, not by blocking emotion, but by refusing to be commanded by it. You've spent your life believing that if you don't react, you've lost. That if you stay still, people will assume they got to you. But true strength is not proven through noise. Strong energy does not need to declare itself. Strong energy does not perform for validation. Reaction is loud. Power is quiet. You don't have to speak to prove you're in control. You don't have to react to prove you're alive. You don't have to explain yourself to be understood. Silence is not the absence of power. Silence is power under control. This is where emotional mastery begins, not in what you say, but in what you choose not to give your energy to. Chapter 2. They only control you because you react. There is a moment right after an emotion rises when you have not yet reacted and not yet chosen silence. Most people never see that moment. The emotion shows up, and they jump straight into reaction as if there was never a choice. But there was. You just weren't trained to take it. Reaction feels automatic because you've practiced it your entire life. Habits repeated for years disguise themselves as instincts. But they are not instincts. They are emotional patterns that have tricked you into believing that urgency equals power. When someone disrespects you, your pride wants to rise. When someone ignores you, your fear of being insignificant begins to speak. When life doesn't match your expectations, you want to explain, to argue, to fight something that can't even hear you. That intense urge to respond is not strength, it is the mind demanding release. And release feels like relief. But relief is not the same as power. Most people don't talk because they're wise. They talk because they're uncomfortable holding silence. They send long messages, argue endlessly, and rush to defend themselves, not because it's necessary, but because stillness feels unbearable. Here's the truth nobody told you. The strongest people are not the ones who respond the fastest. They are the ones who can remain unchanged when pressure tries to move them. Unchanged, not because they are numb, but because they refuse to be pulled into emotional obedience. The world will tell you to express yourself instantly, to speak your truth right away. But look closely. Who benefits when you can be triggered on command? It doesn't take strength to react. It takes strength to observe without responding. People don't need real power over you. They just need your triggers. If they know how to provoke you, they can move you without lifting a finger. Remember this, they only control you if you react. The moment you respond out of emotion instead of intention, you hand over your power. Most people won't enslave you with chains. They'll do it by making you explain yourself. That's how control is taken silently. From now on, when something tries to pull a reaction out of you, pause. Not to suppress, not to pretend you don't care, but to reclaim the space between emotion and response. That space is your power. Protect it. Chapter 3. Your reaction is their control. The world doesn't need force to control you. It only needs your reaction. As long as you react, you are predictable, and anything predictable is controllable. People don't have to overpower you. They just have to provoke you and watch you fight yourself. They don't need to argue with you directly. They simply drop a tone, a pause, an unfinished sentence, or a delayed reply. And your mind does the rest. That's how emotional power is taken, not with aggression, but with subtle invitations to respond. When you react fast, you are exposing your access points. You're broadcasting your triggers. Your anger reveals where your pride lives. Your defensiveness reveals how badly you need approval. Your urgency to respond reveals your fear of being misunderstood. People study you by observing how quickly you break your own peace to prove a point. They don't need authority to move you. Your reactions give it to them. Control isn't always loud. Most of the time it's quiet. It shows up in moments where someone says something small, and instead of letting it pass, you feel that surge inside that says, "I need to answer." That need to respond is the actual trap. It convinces you that speaking is freedom when it's actually submission. They speak once. You spend the next hour explaining, proving, defending, bleeding energy while they sit still. Look at people who appear untouchable. Notice how they rarely rush to correct anyone. They don't scramble to fix perceptions. They don't jump to prove themselves. They let people think what they want while they remain centered. Stillness isn't passive, it's strategic. Those who hold their reaction hold their power. So ask yourself, how many times have you lost your energy to a moment that didn't deserve it? How many times have you replayed their words in your head, crafting the perfect reply while they moved on without thinking twice? That's how reaction keeps you captive. Not in chains, but in cycles. From now on, when someone tries to stir that urgency inside you, recognize it for what it is, an invitation to lose control. You don't have to accept every emotional invitation. Power isn't shown in how loudly you respond. Power is shown in what no longer gets a response at all. Chapter 4. Hold your energy instead of bleeding it. You've spent your whole life releasing energy the moment it rises. Anger rises, you speak. Frustration rises, you act. Discomfort rises, you explain. Like steam escaping from a boiling pot. Your emotions leak out instantly, uncontrolled. And when it's all over, you don't feel peaceful. You just feel empty. That emptiness is the cost of untrained emotional energy. People think releasing emotion is power, but it's actually leakage. Controlled energy becomes direction. Leaked energy becomes noise. When you speak every time you feel something, you lose your presence. When you argue to be heard, you drain yourself. When you react instantly, you prove that your emotions own you. Discipline is not about suppressing emotion. Suppression creates pressure. Pressure erupts. Discipline is about holding the energy without performing it. It's feeling everything without turning it into a show. At first, holding energy feels heavy. It feels like something inside you is begging to escape. That urgency to speak, to defend, to prove yourself. That is the undisciplined ego demanding release. Most people believe relief equals strength, but relief is just escape with a costume on. Real strength is when you feel the wave rise inside you and remain still, not numb, aware. You watch it. You breathe once. You let it exist without building your behavior around it. Imagine a river with no banks. The water spills everywhere, chaotic, useless. Now imagine that same water held by structure. It becomes powerful, directed, unstoppable. Your emotions are the same. Uncontained, they drown you. Contained, they build you. You don't gain respect by reacting. You gain respect by showing that your energy is expensive, not handed out freely every time something pokes at you. Your reaction is currency. Stop spending it on everything that moves you slightly. Let them talk. Let them test you. Let the moment rise, and let it pass without you leaking energy into it. This is emotional muscle. The more you hold, the stronger you become. And eventually what used to shake you no longer moves you at all. Chapter 5. Emotion is not a command. You were taught that if you feel something, you must act on it. Feel anger? Express it. Feel hurt? Announce it. Feel panic? Move fast. Feel disrespected? Prove your worth. This conditioning made you believe that emotion equals instruction, that whatever rises inside you has authority over your actions. But here's a truth most people never discover. Emotion is a signal, not a command. A signal simply means something is happening inside you. Pay attention, but impatience turns signals into orders. You feel a spike and react like it was a direct instruction from your survival system. You don't pause to ask, is this emotion useful? Does it deserve action? Or is it just noise from an untrained nervous system? Emotional discipline is not about feeling less. It's about ending automatic obedience to your feelings. You are allowed to feel anger without expressing it. You are allowed to feel anxiety without labeling yourself broken. You are allowed to feel frustration and still move with elegance. There is a quiet power in this realization. I can feel something fully and decide to do nothing. That is where strength begins. Weakness is not feeling emotions. Weakness is believing every emotion requires performance. True power is the ability to hold a feeling, examine it, and choose silence, calm, or stillness over reaction. When an emotion surfaces, try this simple shift. Instead of asking, what do I do with this feeling? Ask, does this feeling deserve my movement? Most of the time, it doesn't. Not every pain deserves a reaction. Not every trigger deserves correction. Not every shade of disrespect deserves your explanation. Feel it. Acknowledge it. Let it exist without immediate translation into action. That is emotional maturity, to live with feeling, but not live by it. You are not a servant to emotion. You are its observer. You decide what it becomes. Chapter 6. Your reaction is their control. Most people think control is taken through force, but in reality, control is taken through your reaction. Watch how the world operates. People don't need to overpower you. They just need to provoke you. And the moment you react, your emotional state stops belonging to you. This is how subtle control works. Not through domination, but through predictable triggering. If someone knows how to get a rise out of you, they don't need authority. They already own a part of you. Think about it. They don't even need to speak directly. A tone, a pause, a sigh, a dismissive glance, a delayed reply, a sarcastic okay. That's all it takes for your nervous system to jump. And just like that, you drop everything to respond. Not because you want to, but because they pulled a string you didn't know you had. That's how emotional control is stolen. Not with chains, but with access. Look at how often you break your peace just to send one more message, to explain yourself again, to defend a point you don't even care about anymore, to prove something to someone who already stopped listening. That is emotional captivity. And it doesn't feel like captivity because it doesn't look like force. It looks like conversation. It looks like getting closure. It looks like standing your ground. But true ground is silent. It doesn't move every time someone steps near it. It remains steady, and lets others reveal their own imbalance. Let them push. Let them poke. Let them wait for your reaction. Your power is not in how loudly you respond. Your power is in whether you respond at all. Silence is not passive. It is a refusal to be controlled through emotional invitation. When someone tries to pull you in with a jab, a tone, a subtle disrespect, do not enter. Stand there. Feel what rises. But do not move. At first, it will feel like losing. It will feel like you're letting them win. But in truth, you become the only one in the room who still belongs to themselves. Chapter 7. Silence is a strategy, not a weakness. Silence has been misunderstood. You were conditioned to believe that silence means defeat, that if you don't respond, you've lost, that if you don't defend yourself, you are weak. So you speak quickly. You respond instantly. You don't let things sit. But silence is not weakness. Silence is a weapon sharpened by those who no longer need permission to be at peace. Look at those who appear composed, unshaken. They rarely rush to speak. They don't join every debate. They don't hurry to correct every misunderstanding. They let others talk. They let noise expose itself, and only when necessary do they speak. Not from emotion, but from clarity. This is the difference. The reactive mind speaks to discharge emotion. The disciplined mind speaks to direct energy. Silence allows energy to settle. And once it settles, you see clearly who and what is actually worth responding to. Most people are speaking over their own anxiety. Their words are not communication. They are escape. They don't want truth. They want relief. They don't want peace. They want release. When you learn to sit in silence, without adjusting yourself to make others comfortable, something shifts inside you. You stop chasing reactions. You stop broadcasting your emotional state. You stop leaking energy through unnecessary expression. You start choosing your words like currency, spent only with intention. People will test your silence. They will say you're avoiding. They will try to provoke you into performing. They need your reaction to feel important, but you won't serve that anymore. Silence doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you no longer waste breath on things that do not build you. And make no mistake, your silence has weight, more than your reaction ever will. Those who misunderstand silence will chase noise. Those who master silence will command attention without asking for it. So when the moment comes, and it will, when someone tries to drag you into emotional chaos, allow your silence to answer. Let them feel the space where your reaction used to be. That empty space is your evolution. Chapter 8. Your peace doesn't need an audience. The biggest mistake people make on their journey toward emotional discipline is trying to prove their peace to others. They want to look calm. They want to appear unbothered. They want others to notice their restraint, their control, their silence. But the moment you seek recognition for your peace, you lose it. Peace that needs to be seen is still ego in disguise. You don't have to announce you've changed. You don't have to show that you're not reacting anymore. That's still performance. And performance still keeps you chained to outside perception. There will be people who notice your silence and feel threatened by it, not because you're wrong, but because your new stillness no longer feeds their need for drama. They may say, "Oh, you don't care anymore," or "You really think staying quiet makes you better." When they say this, understand, they are not upset at your silence. They are upset that your silence no longer gives them access to your energy. People who feed on your reactions feel starved when you stop offering emotional responses. This is not your problem. You are not here to emotionally babysit anyone's need for engagement. Your peace is your private discipline. It exists whether or not anyone sees it. It exists even if people label it coldness, arrogance, or indifference. Let them talk. Every word they speak while you remain still only proves your evolution. You don't have to correct them. You don't have to be understood. You don't have to be admired for your restraint. Some growth is meant to be quiet, unannounced, unexplained, unaffected by validation or misunderstanding. You're not becoming peaceful to impress others. You're becoming peaceful to stop betraying yourself. When you truly arrive at inner discipline, your peace won't make noise. It won't need an audience. It will simply exist, steady, unshaken, untouched. And that kind of peace is unbreakable. Chapter 9. Detachment is not coldness. It's clarity. People will misunderstand your detachment. They'll confuse it with indifference. They'll call you cold, distant, even heartless. Not because you lack emotion, but because you finally stopped performing emotion on demand. Most people believe connection means constant emotional exchange, constant explanation, constant response. They think attachment is love, but attachment in its unhealthy form is emotional dependency disguised as connection. Detachment isn't about cutting people off or feeling nothing. It's about seeing clearly without your emotions distorting the view. Emotions are like water, good servants, bad rulers. When emotions lead, perception becomes warped. A delayed reply feels like rejection. A disagreement feels like betrayal. A shift in tone feels like abandonment. You don't see reality. You see your fear projected onto it. Detachment removes the fog. It gives you space between what happens and what your mind wants to assume about it. Someone pulls away. You don't chase. You observe. Someone speaks with edge. You don't fire back. You breathe and let their words reveal more about them than about you. This is clarity, the ability to witness chaos without absorbing it. Most people drown in emotional water because they never learned how to stand still in it. The water pulls them in every direction. One comment, one tone, one shift, and they are dragged. But detachment plants your feet. You don't drown. You watch the waves instead of becoming them. True detachment doesn't look cold. It looks composed. It's not emotionless. It's uncontrolled by emotion. There is a difference. To feel everything without reacting to everything, that is peace. And to hold peace in a world that constantly demands reaction, that is mastery. Chapter 10. The final form of power is emotional stillness. There comes a point in your journey where you no longer seek control over situations, people, or outcomes. You no longer chase validation. You no longer fear being misunderstood. You no longer rush to speak or defend or correct. You enter a different level, a level where stillness replaces reaction, where clarity replaces urgency, where presence replaces performance. This is emotional stillness, not the absence of feeling, but the absence of emotional panic. Stillness is not silence alone. Stillness is internal quiet. It's being able to feel the wave rise inside you and remain seated within yourself, untouched, unshaken. In stillness, someone can try to provoke you, and you won't move. Not because you're passive, but because you see the game clearly now. You recognize emotional invitations. You recognize manipulation disguised as conversation. You recognize bait hidden behind just asking and just saying. Stillness gives you something reaction never could. Choice. When you are still inside, you choose your words like a scalpel, not a spill. You choose your movements like a chess player, not a cornered animal. You choose what deserves your energy and what requires nothing at all. Stillness is what makes great warriors slow to draw their sword, what makes great leaders slow to speak, what makes truly powerful people unhurried, unpressured, unbothered. In stillness, you stop participating in every emotional current around you. You watch others rush, argue, react, defend, and you realize that noise is not power. Noise is just noise. Stillness does not need to be seen. Stillness does not need an audience. Stillness is private mastery. And when stillness becomes your natural state, you finally understand. The highest power is not in controlling others. It's in never losing control of yourself. You've reacted your whole life because you didn't know there was another way to exist. You believed every emotion needed expression. You believed every trigger required a response. You believed silence meant defeat. That walking away meant losing. That not explaining yourself meant you weren't heard. But now you know better. Power was never in the loudest voice. It was never in the fastest reaction. It was never in the person who spoke first. Power has always belonged to the one who remains, the one who feels and still chooses, the one who could react but doesn't, the one who holds their energy like a blade, sharp, silent, controlled. This journey is not about becoming emotionless. It's about learning to stand in your emotion, without bowing to it. From this moment on, when the tension rises, when someone tries to pull you out of character, when life demands you react fast, pause, breathe, let the wave pass, and remember, they only control you when you abandon yourself. Do not abandon yourself.